Your cat is eating my box. Alright, well, while the cat is unboxing this one, I'll unbox this one. I need scissors. Nice. Alright, Rip from the Discord server suggested that I try this one on the Minarelli. I asked Darcy about it, and he said that some guys use these and they really like them. They get good results. I seen Little Evil using one. I think he has a Minarelli too. He made his look real slick. His bike was clean. I don't think I'll get mine to be that clean, but yeah, shout out to Little Evil. He was using one. His bike seemed to be running pretty nice. So we'll give this a shot. It is a little bigger than I expected, which is good. I was worried it might be kind of small. For the price of about $70 to $80, this looks pretty good to me. Welcome back, motorized bike enthusiast, and although it might not sound like it, I'm a little bit under the weather today, so this video is going to jump around kind of randomly as we give you an update on the Minarelli build. Now, it's waiting for some parts, so I wasn't able to complete it this week, and I also hate to leave you guys without any ride footage, so while we were waiting for the parts, we jumped onto the Schwinn Taff and hit the trails after doing some housekeeping on that build and getting the sprocket squared away. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll jump in whenever I feel is necessary, but this should be a relaxing update video. Okay, let me jump in with a bit of information that might be relevant and some full transparency. Now, I received two Minarelli kits, a stock conversion kit and a ported conversion kit from DLH Performance at a discounted price. Now, this is not going to affect how I judge these kits, but you should know that I know basically nothing about Minarellis, and that will be very clear throughout the video. So I'm going into this rather blind with limited information, and when I have questions, I just email Darcy himself to ask. And he's been very helpful so far. I understand throughout the motorized bike community, there's a lot of drama that goes back and forth between sellers. And I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just here to explain my situation and show you how I experience these kits. In the future, I'll try to run kits from as many of the sellers as I can, but I'm limited on time, and DLH reached out to me first. So this is the first kit we're doing, just in case anyone's wondering why I chose this one as opposed to the one from Smolik Performance, and a few other kits which you will see in the future. The price I paid along with the full retail price will be included in the description. And I'm happy to see that he just revamped his entire website and now includes prices on all of his parts. His old website didn't have prices on his parts, and I think that was holding him back, as many viewers would come and see that there's no price and wouldn't want to go through the process of emailing him to find out how much they cost. So good job on the website update. I'll leave a link in the description to his website. Now, we also received his super clutch, but he has a budget super clutch on his website as well for a very reasonable price of $45. We have the high-end version, and now the super clutch along with the case stuffing and the reed stuffers I paid full price for. And here's the roadmap on how I plan to do these series of videos, but this might change as we go. First, here we'll be testing the stock Minarelli conversion kit with the stock clutch. Then we'll move on to his super clutch to see the difference, and then we'll move on to his custom ported Minarelli cylinder, which I'm really looking forward to, and based off what I've heard, I'm kind of terrified of. That's both a good and bad thing. Now I know that the question which comes to many builders' minds when you talk about a new motor or a conversion kit is usually, how fast does it go? Well, we were able to get a China doll to go over 50 miles an hour with some modifications. And we know that the Minarellis go faster than the China dolls, even on their best day. Because I'm not in a hurry to send myself to a grave, and going 50 miles an hour on a bicycle was rather terrifying to me, I'm not going to be focusing on how fast does it go, at least not right away. We'll need some serious upgrades to the bike in its drivetrain, front forks, etc. before we start pushing this Minarelli to top speeds. So, we're going to focus on practical performance. How fast does it accelerate to a usable speed, and what is its practical performance when using it as a daily driver? For now, that's what we're going to focus on. DLH Performance has a video dedicated on installing these conversion kits. I'll leave a link in the description. And in an email after purchasing the kits, he even gives me recommendations for aftermarket parts, which I do appreciate. This is to get the most out of this kit. When we move to his fully ported cylinder, I'll be sure to follow these recommendations as closely as my budget and time allows, because I don't want to sell its performance short, and I want to make sure we get the most out of it. But for the first unported kit, I'm going to try the lazy/poor man style and see what I can get away with. Now, some of you might cringe at that, but I'm confident we can make it work. Now, the recommendations he gives are a standard Zeda 80 bottom end, a balance crank, and he gives the specifications for balancing the crank, a CNC head for better cooling, because the Minarellis are known to run a little hot. They don't have as good of cooling on these motorized bikes. I believe they're designed for forced air cooling. I could be wrong about that. A G2 reed, of course, which we are using. A Mikuni VM18 carburetor, which is a little on the expensive side, hence to why we're waiting for the ported cylinder before we bite that bullet. And he even recommends jet sizes. A 22.5 to 25 pilot and 85 to 95 main jet. I do appreciate that. And then, of course, a dirt bike pipe for 80 cc's of your choice. Now, for now, I'm just going to use the jog pipe, which I got off Amazon for about $70, and we'll see how that works out. I hear some good things about it. These recommendations aren't just limited to accessories, they also recommend some light port work on the case to match it to the adapter plate, which is actually pretty easy to do, but to do this properly, I'll need to split the case so I don't get shavings in the bearings. When we split the case, we'll also be adding the 2 auxiliary holes to the crankshaft to balance it properly to his recommendations. So we'll save this for the ported cylinder. Unless the vibrations feel a little too out of hand, then we'll do it sooner rather than later. I was pleasantly surprised with the installation of this conversion kit. It was a lot simpler than I thought. It was almost the same as just installing a new top end on a China doll, with the addition of the adapter plate. But there's nothing special there because all the holes on the adapter plate and the cylinder are drilled to match the bottom end of the Zeda, so they just slid right on. You seal the adapter plate to the bottom of the cylinder with gasket maker of your choice, add a new base gasket, check your squish gap to make sure the piston won't contact the head, and you're good to go. Now, unfortunately, there were 2 issues I ran into. One I was anticipating, and I think holds a lot of builders back, and the second I was not anticipating. The first issue, which is what usually holds most builders back from these kits because it's why it took me so long to get one, is welding. You're going to have to weld up your own exhaust. There are probably a few exceptions out there. I'm sure some sellers will sell pre-adapted exhaust systems for motorized bikes, but you can't just Google it. I wasn't able to, at least. You're going to have to weld up your own pipe, and for me, I chose the jog pipe after having it recommended from some Discord members and seen it used successfully in videos online. If there are any sellers out there which do sell pre-adapted Minarelli kits that fit on a bicycle setup, please let me know in the comments and I'll pin it. The second issue, which is a lot easier to solve but I did not anticipate, is the fact that the studs on my Zeda bottom end were too short for the head on the Minarelli, which is unfortunate. DLH Performance could consider adding longer studs with their conversion kits, or at the very least, let the end user know that they're going to need longer studs. Along with a handful of other things on this setup, I'll be sure to address the short stud issue when we move on to the ported cylinder, but for now it looks like I can get away with running the stock Zeda 80 head. It has a different dome profile. I don't think the compression will be quite as tight as it would on the Minarelli, and unfortunately our squish gap is going to be 1.1 millimeters, which is a little bit wider than I would like, but for now, at least in testing, this should work. I know a lot of Minarelli veteran builders are probably looking at this, cringing and saying a bunch of things that they'd like to add to the comments, but please understand that I'm adding this not just because there are issues that I ran into. There are a lot of builders who are interested in the Minarellis who simply don't know what to expect. So this information might be valuable so they'll know exactly what issues they're going to run into and things they'll have to deal with.
Songwriter after songwriter after songwriter, you Pachelbel can indeed. You expect anything else to equal, and no one had played Pachelbel or a family of payments. That doesn't mean any of the modern songs based on it are in the public domain. There is new work to the song, even if it's just a video of you performing it on a ukulele. Weird Al Yankovic, the most popular parody artist in history, licenses the songs that he...
So that's where we're sitting with the Minarelli build so far, and I'll update you guys as we progress. Right now I just need to get out and do some practice welding on some old stock exhaust systems so that when I do the jog pipe it won't look terribly ugly. Now on to the Schwinn Taff. This bike has been parked for quite some time because I couldn't figure out how to deal with the rear sprocket on this particular setup. I decided just to go ahead and weld the sprocket to the hub. Well, this had the benefit of being solid and keeping the sprocket in line as well as being true. However, it does mean if we ever break a spoke, we're pretty much screwed with this wheel set. I'm kind of banking on my track record here, as believe it or not, I've never broken a spoke on a bicycle in my life. Of course, if I ever do, I'm sure this is going to be the bike it happens to. Anyways, let's just see how it turned out. So the jet is definitely clogged. We need to clean the carburetor. Might not actually have an air leak. I think that's just a clogged jet because it's been sitting for so long that fuel's probably gummed up. Right now the important thing is that so far the chain hasn't tried to climb off the sprocket. And both of my brakes are working. We'll see how long that lasts. Alright members, we got her up and running and the chain didn't give me any problems. We used the tensioner on there just for chain alignment and it seems to have done the trick. I got about a mile away from the house with no signs of chain jump or any issues like that. So I think this bike's ready to hit a trail again. The only thing I need to do is clean the carburetor and probably up jet, but I definitely got to clean it. Anyways, I think I need to upjet because we have this more free-flowing silencer on here as before we had the old stock exhaust chopped onto the end of that. And that worked fine. I didn't have any issues. But we'll clean it and then see if we need to upjet. I also just realized I probably need to drain the fuel. I noticed something drip right here. And, you know, I'm like, well, that can't be gas. So I got it on the end of my fingers here and you can see it's wet. I smelled it, and you know what it smells like? Water in the gas. That's old gas from the original Schwinn Taff video. Now, this bike has been stored inside the entire time, but the room gets cool and then hot, so I think condensation's built up in the tank. So it might not actually be a dirty jet. It might just be water in the gas. So either way, we're going to clean it, drain it, fix it. All right, so the first comment gets to choose which bike we work on next. Path Dragon needs chain alignment addressed. I think I just need to tighten up the spring or put more tension on the spring tensioner because it's slapping into the wheel. Other than that, this bike is fine. It might need some housekeeping, brakes, clutch, I don't remember, but we can clean it up, fix it up, get it running. I'm thinking about putting the Phantom 85 on that. We'll see how it goes. LD 100 two-piece top end. I have the dual spark CDI. We can go ahead and pop that on. The Motos motor, you can't see it here very well. In there's the Motos. The exhaust studs pulled out of the exhaust when the bracket came off of the pipe. So I can go ahead and try and make sure there's no damage on that cylinder and fix it if needed. Over here, we have two more options. I ride these bikes too hard. The 4-stroke are a DIY mini bike with the footrest. The only thing it needs right now is for me to tighten up the bike crank set. That's it. Everything else on this is good and it runs. And last but not least, the 49cc needs new crank bearings. So I got to take the case off, split it. Now if I do that, I'll probably just take the motor off, put one of my spare motors on it, the Sutek or the old Zeda Firestorm, and then work on the motor separately so we can get that bike back up and running. So the first comment gets to decide what we work on first. All right, day 2, clean the carburetor, got some fresh gas in it. Yeah. Let's try this again. Still need to replace that clutch lever. Oh, I also upjetted from the 61 to the 65. And just because the silencer is more free-flowing. Oh. Got to put some gas in it though. That tends to help. Wait till it warms up to know for sure, but I think we could have stuck with the 61 jet. We'll find out after it gets nice and hot though. The trail that I like to ride on all the time, it starts about 5 miles away from the house. And that's not too bad, but it does limit what I take to the trail before it starts, what I can go through town with. Now, I just found out that they are extending the beginning of the trail right down into town. Like 2 minutes bike ride from my house. Yeah, hill? What hill? This doesn't care about no hill. Now, the trail is not finished. They've just torn up the tracks and laid out a thick layer of loose gravel. So I'm pretty sure this bike's not gonna make it through there. I took the Varla through it and it crawled through there, man. right here it begins. We'll see what the bike can do. There's some old train cars right there, and the overpass for the highway that goes to Gum Springs. So you can see this is right in my backyard. So if I wanted to, I could take the silencer out and just beeline from the house straight to here, and before anybody can do anything about the noise, I'd already be on the trail. All right. In the camera, this probably just looks like a nice walkable, bikeable path. So this is not going to be too easy to show, but I will try. Oh, okay, well the bike just sinks. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. This is all just gravel that they just laid out about 6 inches deep, or they just left it in place when they took the railroad ties up. I really don't know, but it is the loosest gravel. It's like walking on sand, but big stuff. So we'll see if the bike can make it through this. I did take the Varla through it, and I mean, we had to go 5 miles an hour because it was just, you know, all over the place. It did good for what it is, you know, a scooter, but I couldn't take the KBO on it. It sunk in, bogged down, and that was it. I'm hoping this has enough torque to do it. And we're gonna drop the jet back down, maybe do a 62 this time. It's too rich. A 65 is still too rich. I remember now why we went so low. Out of the box, this motor was just so rich. Now these are 29-inch tires, so if anything's gonna make a difference, hopefully it'll be that. Here we go. All right. This isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Man, this front tire, it's all over the place. Oh, that was a big chunk of wood. And another one. Hell yeah, all right. So it's a bumpy ride and the front tire slides everywhere, but the motor and sprocket combination has no problem getting through here. And I must have done something magical with that chain tensioner, because by some miracle, the bike chain is staying on the sprocket and it's not popping or anything. So, I mean, this is like probably the best test I could give a chain for sprocket alignment. And it's working, so we're good. Now, how far do I have to do this? I think it's about 1.5 miles. So we'll just cut back when something gets interesting. Maybe I can gun it. No, I was hoping I could kind of resonate over some of the bumps, but that's not working out. All right, we'll be back. Wish I'd have brought me some firecrackers. This is a perfect spot for firecrackers. There's no houses or businesses in either direction for at least a mile. I'm really excited to finally have this Schwinn Taff back up and running. It's been my desired trail bike for quite some time. I'm not sure how well it'll hold up in the long run, but I've got a good feeling about it. And even if the rear wheel set does turn out to be a bust, the rest of the build worked out well, so I could always just throw a regular 29-inch tire on there with rim brakes and call it a day. Anyways, that's all we got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the little updates, and until next time, ride safe.